What is up? Welcome into yet another edition of Benstant Reaction. Instant reaction to games, sports, a trade, whatever it may be in the sports world, we are talking about it. And we are reacting to the Cardinals-Commanders game that just happened moments ago. And clearly I have egg all over my face. Do you ever have a take that you put out on social media? Because obviously I work in the Arizona sports landscape. I cover the Cardinals currently, do a lot of things, all things Arizona sports, as my Twitter notifications are still going wild as we speak. And you just have a take so excruciatingly bad, and you're convinced it's an amazing take, and there's nothing you can do about it at the end of the day, is just own it. It's what I had today. I just owned it. I'm not going to say I was the first one on the Jayden Daniels experience, or that Cliff Kingsbury might just be an amazing offensive coordinator and not fit to be a head coach. I'll talk about the Cardinals in just a minute. But this went semi-viral over the weekend. Put out a take on social media from my pregame show of the Cardinals-Commanders, basically previewing this game, predictions, everything I do on Fridays prior to the Arizona Cardinals game. We are going to have some hard conversations about Jonathan Ganon, about Drew Petzing, and about my dearly beloved Kyler Murray, because there is something to be said about this team. But I've got to be honest. I've got to give credit where it's due. Firstly, to Jayden Daniels, because that's who I think is actually carrying this. Since the start of the draft, I said I don't see it in Jayden Daniels. I watched him at ASU. It didn't work out. He goes to He goes to LSU. He balls out, but I mostly gave that to the credit of Brian Thomas Jr. and players like Malik Neighbors, and then just the shield of LSU, and then you add Brian Kelly to that mix. I just expected anyone to succeed. And I had said before, Michael Penix Jr. should have won the Heisman. Clearly, I was wrong about all that. And I can admit that. One of my superpowers in this business, I will always believe, will be the fact that I believe I bring different perspectives to sports, as well as I'll admit when I'm wrong. My all-time favorite broadcaster, Colin Cowherd, who I take a lot of things from in terms of his journey, how can I adapt it to myself, how can I be better? One of the things he always says is, try to knock it out of the park. Sometimes you're going to strike out and everyone's going to laugh at you, and I'm okay with that. I can admit when I'm wrong. And boy, was I wrong. Jayden Daniels looks like the real deal. I still have some worries as well about his frame. He's still a smaller guy, but to this point in the NFL season, it hasn't really affected him. I mean, Jayden Daniels in this game had one bad throw. One bad mulligan throw, threw it over the middle, still the right read, just airmailed Terry McLaurin just a little bit, and Garrett Williams intercepted him. But outside of that, Jayden Daniels was flawless. And to this point, Jayden Daniels is the rookie of the year. Without a shadow of a doubt, there is no conversation. The best rookie this season has been Jayden Daniels. And clearly has proved me wrong at this point. 233 yards, 26 for 30, a touchdown, 8 rushes for 47 yards, and another touchdown. Aside from one bad interception in which he made the right read, just airmailed his receiver a little bit, Jayden Daniels was flat out perfect in this game and full throttled the Arizona Cardinals. And that brings me to Cliff Kingsbury. I'm not going to apologize to anyone. That's not my MO. This is sports at the end of the day, but I'll admit when I'm wrong. Cliff Kingsbury seems to have learned. His offense looked creative. Now, I still have concerns about this offense later in the season because we saw this with the Arizona Cardinals. At times, Cliff Kingsbury looked like a master at work offensively at the beginning and towards the middle of the season. But then towards the end of the season, it did seem to unravel. So he still needs to exercise those demons. But outside of that, Cliff Kingsbury was amazing. I mean, I have to just admit where it was due. I judge this as a clear coaching mismatch between Jonathan Ganon and Cliff Kingsbury. Well, I was right. It was a coaching mismatch, just the other way around. Jayden Daniels was splendid, huge arm, accurate, agile, patient in the pocket. Everything Jayden Daniels did today and has been doing during this season has been flat out perfect. And I want a mulligan on this take. I just have to admit I was wrong there. And the Commanders, to this point, should be the NFC East favorites. Jayden Daniels looks, as of right now, just this season alone, more impressive than Jalen Hurts, more impressive than Daniel Jones, and more impressive or as impressive as Dak Prescott. This Commanders defense still has some holes defensively, but as you can tell, Dan Quinn has kind of plugged those up a little bit during this Cardinals game, but just a flat-out butt-kicking, a good old-fashioned butt-kicking for the Washington Commanders. And that takes me over to the Arizona Cardinals now that I am done singing the praises of a take that clearly I was just wrong on. It's time to have some uncomfortable conversations about the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray, 16 for 22, 142 yards, a touchdown, rushed the ball once in this game. It felt like Kyler Murray was just trying to prove a point in this game. Didn't scramble around the pocket. The offensive line play was not very good, but I don't know really who to blame that on. Kyler Murray held the ball for way too long. I, for the first time ever, have my clear doubts on if Kyler Murray is indeed the guy. I can blame Drew Petzing. I can blame Jonathan Gannon, who was really bad defensively, him and Nick Rollis. But at some point, I have to point the finger at Kyler Murray. And we all do. Kyler Murray is a $46.5 million a year man. This was the worst defense statistically in the NFL, in the secondary group, and they did not take advantage of it once after the first drive of this game. Kyler Murray was bad, and at times looked to be getting back to old habits on the sidelines. Was not rallying the troops, looked dismissive on the sidelines, looked frustrated on the sidelines, a little emotional, didn't like any of it. And there should have been way more urgency. And what does it say about this team who rallied around Jonathan Gannon last year when they went into Philadelphia and had their coaches back? And what does it say that in this game at home against Cliff Kingsbury, who, while he was the head coach here, was a bad head coach, there was no accountability, there was no leadership, there was none of that. They didn't have Kyler Murray's back. What does it say that they didn't rally around their quarterback in what was a very important game for Kyler? Now, at this point, Cliff Kingsbury's won the divorce, without a shadow of a doubt. And even people like me who blame Cliff Kingsbury for years of the shortcomings of this offense, even I'm like, was it Cliff? Because Kyler was not good in this game. You can't blame everyone else forever. I have been a Kyler Murray defender and believer ever since he's came into the league. But I'm not going to sit here and blame the offensive coordinator. I'm not going to sit here and blame the head coach. They have their own issues. Sure, we'll get to those a different day. But we have to have some tough conversations about Kyler Murray. This game was his for the taking. He was consistently holding on the ball for too long. He consistently looked pressured in the pocket. He wasn't patient. He was airmailing throws, and it felt like he was targeted on just one wide receiver today in Marvin Harrison Jr. He felt like a one-read quarterback. And at some point, we have to have the uncomfortable conversation about Kyler Murray. We can blame everyone else. We can, sure. And I'm going to have those harsh conversations about Drew Petzing, who was again bad today and didn't trust his quarterback. And I'll have those hard conversations about Jonathan Gannon in just a minute too. But Kyler Murray did not answer the bell today. Every part of him was not great. The stats do not tell the full story. I have no idea what happened to this team who battled the Buffalo Bills all the way till the end, beat the tar out of the Rams, and played the Lions as good as you can play the Lions, and then lay an egg at home against a Commanders team whose defense was horrendous. You can blame Jonathan Gannon, you can blame Drew Petzing, but the number one person who should have answered the bell and who should be receiving the most criticism is Kyler Murray. He was not good in this game and did not take advantage of what he should have taken advantage of. And at some point, we need to have a conversation. There is no reason in my mind why I should believe Kyler Murray is a top 10 quarterback, especially with how he's played so far this season. Sure, he's taking care of the football, but what else is he doing? It seems like through 4 games, Kyler Murray has started to regress back to old habits. And I don't want to just harp on Kyler Murray. Jonathan Gannon got out-coached today by a coach in Cliff Kingsbury on the offensive side of the ball where I should have expected him to have a field day. And Cliff Kingsbury, with limited resources on offense, torched him. Jonathan Gannon consistently made mistake after mistake after mistake on crucial calls, mostly on 4th down when he should be kicking field goals. Free points. They gave 3 points at the end of the half to the Commanders. Right there, the game was over. That was a 6-point swing. Not taking the field goal. And then Drew Petzing as well, the offensive coordinator, was just not great in this game either. Stale play calling, wasn't creative, just bad on all respects. And lastly, I'll just again come back down to this. The teammates of Kyler Murray, the coaches of Kyler Murray, did not rally around their quarterback in a game that he needed to win to set some narratives back to being quiet, to destroy the narratives that have been thrown against Kyler Murray, and they did not do so. I have zero belief that this Cardinals team will be making the playoffs like I thought they would be before. I have zero belief in this team to genuinely dig themselves out of this hole. Now everyone is under a microscope because you're starting the season off 1-3. Your playoff chances look to be disintegrating right before your eyes. And I'm not so sure what I just watched because this team looked pitiful today. And I'm not so sure how much blame needs to go around, but I know the brunt of it needs to lie at the feet of Kyler Murray.